Okay, it says I'm live. I'm doing a test. Let's see if this hangs on for a while. I'll do a speed test. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Are we on YouTube? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Testing. Awesome. Back to StreamYards. Okay. I'll get Simon in. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Okie dokie. So we should be in for a treat because we are hopefully going to have the great Van Zini jump on live with us and tell us about his move from rock and roll, British blues in the late 60s to jazz fusion. Okay, let's just see how that works. That says we're working okay on here. Okay. Hey, Arvon, can you hear me and see me okay? I've been having major internet issues. Just give me a second. I'm going to turn my back on you while I arrange my man cave. Hold on. We're just waiting for Simon to jump in. And if all goes well, we'll have the great Vanzini. He should be on. Aha. Great Vanzini is in the chat. If you just give me 2 seconds, Great Vanzini, we'll just wait for Simon to jump on, and then I will email you the link. So he's saying 2 minutes. Okay, so that's cool. That's cool. We can hang up. How's everybody in the chat? Doing well, I hope. You're on early. 5:30. Simon sent me a message early, so you know. Yeah. We're normally scheduled for 6, but shit. Bit disappointing, I suppose, if you guys have to jump from show to show because there's so many bloody good shows on YouTube these days. Yeah, good, Arvin. Yeah, I'm good. You guys like my lockdown beard? Carl's growing one too. His is darker than mine. I'm older than him. That's why. There's an age thing. Don't let anybody tell you that there isn't. Okay. And I'm going to do a gear video. So many live streams. Yeah. You're right. But yeah, I need to do a gear video because I picked up some guitars last year that I haven't spoken about in depth. You know, there's this guitar here that I picked up, which is an Axis that I've made a couple of changes to. Over here, I've got a ES335 Epiphone Pro that I picked up where I've made a couple of changes. So yeah, we need to do a live stream on that. G'day, Simon.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. So I just want to say, if I get knocked out of the stream when you and the great Vanzini are on, if I go out, I'll have to come back on. Okay, so
No worries.
unfortunately, when the technicians came to my house, they could only do a test from the road, and because of the coronavirus,
They weren't able to come in.
They won't come in until after the lockdown is lifted.
Right.
Yeah. Hey, Carlos. Hey, Carlos. Mr. while you're there, just hang there, Carlos. I am going to do a show on some of my gear that I picked up last year, and this is one of the guitars that I will talk about, my Axis. I have been chatting to Carlos about it, so yeah, probably tomorrow, Carlos. Simon and I don't get a chance to talk about gear.
Are you accusing me of taking off on tangents? How dare you?
Oh, well, it's not what our show is. Our show really isn't a gear show. But Great Vanzini, if you're ready, I will flick you an email for you to jump on, and in the meantime, yeah, we can say g'day and have a chat, and you can give us a bit of a update on what's been happening in the UK, Simon.
Yeah, so I could say good morning to Arvin, Great Vanzini, Brit lover. Look at that, we've got Guitar Hack. Good morning, how you doing? Hope you're good.
Hey, Hack.
Carlos, hey Carlos, hope you're all right in sunny New York. Yeah, yes, good morning all. Hope we're all safe and well and keeping away from the dreaded pangolin virus of doom. Or not.
I'm going to see if I can remember. Yeah, okay. I got the Great Vanzini's email. His email is quite good. It's his name, Simon.
What, his real name?
No, the Great Vanzini.
Oh, good. That's right. Yeah. You see, I get Arvin and I have had quite a lot of long conversations on Messenger, but of course he's not called. The one thing we know about Arvin Gaunt, his real name's not Arvin Gaunt. I can't remember.
I know that. Yeah. I had to scratch my head because he's posted a couple of cool posts on the Rolling Stones group, and I'm going, how do I know that guy? How do I know that guy?
Oh, Gussie Wells as well. Hey, Gussie. How you doing, man?
Gussie. Hey, Sonia.
Hope you're good. And Sonia too.
Yes, hey, Sonia, are you available in a couple of days to jump on and do a show with Simon? Today is Wednesday, UK, New Zealand time. Are you ready in a couple of days? Maybe you can...
Friday, Saturday? My real name isn't Guitar Hack. No. Mr. and Mrs. Hack and their son Guitar. Yes.
Okay, check your inbox, Great Vanzini. There should be something there.
Yeah. How we all doing? I hope we're all good, isn't it?
Friday's good. Nice, awesome, Sonia. Awesome. It'll probably be about this time, around this time, Simon. Does that suit?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's all right. I'm awake. Yeah, and his brother Ukulele. Ukulele Hack. He's got lots of brothers. Banjo Hack. Mandolin Hack.
I've been watching your channel, Hack. I enjoyed your Santana clip that you put on. When was that? A couple of days ago? Today?
It was so good. He got a strike on it. See?
Oh, really?
Yes, it was. You see, Hack. He's a wizard. You see? Oh, he could sound just like Carl. He sounded enough like Carl Santana for Carlos Santana to come for him in the night with a copyright strike.
So what does that mean, Hack? Does that mean that they take any money?
That he was going to get, and he's now not going to get.
Okay. So you should delete the video then and get a backing track and just redo it.
Or the 0.3 of a cent he was going to get goes to the mighty Carlos Santana. Yeah.
I think there's a principle involved here. You know, and it's not as if the record companies aren't milking it, aren't they?
No, like they always did. I was watching. Did you watch the Pete Thorne talking to Steve Vai?
No. I watched Ben Holmes talking to Pete Thorne though.
Coombs. Ben Holmes. Who's Ben Holmes?
Combs. Ben Combs.
Coombs. Yeah. That was really good too. Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, the Canucks get together. Yeah, that was really cool as well. If you haven't seen that, check that out. But yeah, last night Pete Thorne had he did a premiere thing of talking to Steve Vai. Really interesting about Pete Thorne does that series about so you want to be a pro musician.
Wow.
It's not a competition, Great Vanzini.
Wow.
It's I never have actually.
Wow.
Not enough.
So why is it that there's guys that do like Van Halen lessons or Keith Richards lessons, play along to a whole song, never get copyright strikes?
Oh, I'm sure they get copyright strikes. I'm sure they get copyright. Well, they don't get they don't get taken down. I think it's two different things. Rick Beato was talking about the other day. He did his series what makes his song so great. Well, that got taken down. It got blocked.
Oh, wow.
Ramble On, and Led Zeppelin, not Led Zeppelin, but the representatives of Led Zeppelin, whoever that is, the publishers or the record company like this, off at the knees.
Hold on, we've got the great Vanzini here. Hold on.
Is he coming? Is he on?
He's on. There he is.
On the line. We have
the great Vanzini, and he's even got his earphones in.
Drum roll. Ladies and gentlemen, live from Oregon, the great Vanzini will now entertain. Good morning. How you doing?
And very good. How are you?
Good. You sound good.
Unfortunately, awesome. I had both streams, both the YouTube and the StreamYard going, so I didn't get anything that anybody was saying. But I think I'm good now.
Rookie error, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
I have a running to look at the chat.
Is this? Am I too dark? I can.
No, you're good.
No,
you're
fine.
good.
No, it's good.
Unless you're going to show us anything.
I've got another amp. Remember the one I showed last time was only a 45 watt. This one's a 50.
What, 50 tons?
That's
it's one of those
box,
boxes. Yeah. That's got the YouTube technology.
It does.
Yeah.
They're surprisingly good. So anyway, that's all I got to show. So
I've got the Vox Super Beetle, which has got that YouTube technology, and it's
the new one, the little bitty Super Beetle.
Yeah, Super Beetle, and Carl's playing with it at the moment, but cheapers, it's loud.
Oh, really? It's loud. Okay, well, that makes me more interested. Yeah, I almost wanted to buy one just for nostalgic purposes because everybody had Super Beetles back in the day.
That's the only reason why I got it, because it looks cool.
yeah. That's and I think that's a good reason. I think there's something to that.
Yeah.
Great, Imagine, do you plug that into a cab? Does that go into a cab?
I plug that into a Fender 1x12 rated at 65 watts.
Okay.
It's 8 ohms, so I'm down to actually just 25 watts going into 8 ohms. But it's still really, really loud. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Does it give you lots of clean headroom and stuff? Is it quite sort of...
Well, they make different versions of it. They make a clean version, and this is the AC version. So it still has headroom on it, but it wants to dirty up fairly quickly. So.
And they do a high gain version as well, and I think a bass as well.
Yes, I think they do now. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll give you a quick preview of my next guitar.
Wow.
I'm looking at YouTube and there's a lag there. That's an Epiphone Johnny A.
Wow.
And it's a good one to compare to the Reverends. So
that's nice. I like the double cut. Just show the body again.
Yeah.
So hot. Yeah. Semi-olive. Yeah.
Yeah.
Bixby. Cool. Yeah.
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 Does it sound good?
It sounds very good, and I've been always very critical of Epiphone, and this has ebony fretboard and Gibson 57 pickups in it, so it sounds very good. So yeah, fun guitar.
Is that a new guitar or something that you've had for a while?
You know, I did a live stream and I said, I bought this about a year ago, and I started looking it up, and I bought it almost 2 years ago now. When they first came out, I was in the second group to get them, and I had to get on a waiting list at Sweetwater, which is a big box internet store.
Yeah.
And and I had to wait a little while before they got the second batch in. So, yeah.
That reminds me, that guitar reminds me a little bit of the Yamahas that came out that
the Rev Stars.
Santana used to play.
Oh, okay, yes.
2000s or something, are they?
Yeah.
Yes, I had one of those. Those were solid bodies, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, heavy, weren't they? My cousin
I never owned a Les Paul because I said they were too heavy. When I got that Yamaha, I thought, what was I thinking here? It was far heavier than a Les Paul. So, I'm not seeing the chat. Is there some way? Live comments. Okay, there we go.
While you're just seeing the chat, Great Vanzini, I'll just fill you in with a couple of technical issues that may happen. I've been experiencing internet issues. So if I drop out of the chat, obviously just carry on, and I'll hopefully be able to come back in. But yeah. So anyway, I just want to do a bit of an introduction to your presentation. I really appreciated the fact that you jumped on with Simon and I. When was that? A couple of weeks ago? Time flies.
Yes. Yeah.
And gave us a bit of a brief background on your musical journey. And obviously one of the key things that we like about you is that you were listening and playing the British blues music that we talk about when it was being released, when young people were being exposed to it. So I don't know if you've finished telling us all your stories about that interesting period in time. But something that really spiked my my interest, and I'm going to sort of speak on behalf of Simon here too, was the fact that you said to us that you moved into jazz fusion in the mid '70s. So I'm interested in that story. If so, the floor is yours, unless Simon wants to add anything to the introduction.
I just want to say that's the Yamaha SG 2000 electric guitar.
Yeah, I think, and they made different versions. I think mine was maybe a 1000 or a 1500 or something like that.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they made different. But yeah, I remember my cousin having one of those. Quite very heavy. I remember it being, but beautiful guitar.
Yeah,
hi, Janice.
Was a real log. Oh, hi, Janice.
Morning, Janice.
Yeah, I don't think I ever said hi to Arvin. Hi, Arvin. I didn't.
Well, the floor is yours. You can say hello to anybody you want.
Well,
and then
I'm so unused to actually saying hi to somebody. I'm used to typing it in.
Yeah.
Save your fingers.
Yeah, forget myself. So, well, my transition was kind of some. I can't give you a year, but in the early to mid '70s, and I just was very frustrated with rock and roll. And I didn't much care for what I was hearing. And I'd always had a folk part of me that finger picked and did a lot of folk music. In fact, with a friend of mine, I had a little folk duo for a short while. And so I was really more interested in finger picking. And people I'm interested in finger picking, besides somebody way beyond my skill level, like Chet Atkins or somebody, but was Paul Simon and James Taylor. And
Wow.
so I was really listening to what they were doing and trying to figure some of that finger picking stuff out. And bit
Well,
by bit, I got
I was going to say, it's the advent of the singer-songwriter, then, isn't it? 71. It's a great year of the singer-songwriter.
Yeah. And this was probably a little later when they were doing stuff. So maybe 74 or 5, I would guess, maybe. I don't know.
But yeah, still going though, strong.
But they were also doing stuff, not just finger picking. They had backup musicians in the studio, and Paul Simon had Leland Sklar as a bass player, and I forget who he had on guitar, but they were all really good, you know. And Paul Simon around the, gosh, now I can't even remember the name of the album, but the One Trick Pony Time, had some really good cats backing him up. And then I realized I had seen them at some point on Saturday Night Live, and they were a band called Stuff, and it was Richard T. on keyboard, Steve Gadd on drums, a fellow by the name of Eric Gale.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, Eric Gale, guitar player, yeah.
Yeah, and they've sadly, except for Steve Gadd, I think they've all passed away now. So,
Have they?
Yeah. So, I had just listened to them, and they were more of a, I mean, they weren't straight fusion kind of like McLaughlin or any, but they were what would you call it? It wasn't smooth jazz either. A funky jazz, I guess.
Certainly jazz rock, wasn't it? I'm certainly Eric.
Yeah.
Eric Gale was a jazz rock guy, wasn't he?
Yeah, and their other guitar player that didn't go on with them was Cornell Dupree, who was just a really interesting guitar player. So that's kind of, I started paying, and then they became Grover Washington's backup band. And so here I was all of a sudden listening to the likes of Grover Washington and I'm going to mispronounce his name, Sadao Watanabe. So I was listening to sax players all of a sudden, and so my first experience, well, not my first experience, but one of my first experiences with real fusion was going to a friend's house who was playing some Mahavishnu, and I said,
wow.
And I said, who are those guys? Man, they stink, you know. And so he told me who they were. And then some months later, he got another album, and I was over at his house, and I said, man, who are those guys? They're really good, you know. And so he explained to me that, you know, well, they're the guys you said that stunk, you know. So I, you know, it was kind of a love-hate relationship with some of it, but I was really interested in a lot of those earlier players. Larry Coryell was important, and part of his thing was he was a Washingtonian, a Northwesterner, and when he was in Seattle, of course, he would go. I remember last time I was on, I talked about a group called the Wailers, the Fabulous Wailers out of Seattle.
Yeah.
And so I don't think I finished on that part. So one of the keys was they played at a place called the Spanish Castle, and thus the Hendrix song, Spanish Castle thing, you know, and so Hendrix would go there and hang out and try to play with the bands. Nobody knew who he was. It was before he went in the army, you know. So and when Larry Coryell was from, I believe he was from actually Central Washington in Yakima, but at some point he ended up in Seattle and was also going there. And I just think about the influence of that music from that time. Up there especially in the Seattle area, that really had an influence on all sorts of different people that kind of spread out. And I hear a train coming. If you hear a train, don't worry.
Awesome.
Larry Coryell was born in Galveston in Texas. So.
He was, but he was raised in Central Washington. Yeah, he lived in Central in.
What? Yeah, you lived in Richland.
I said in Richland. That's right, because I lived in Kennewick when I was a kid. Yeah, he was in the Tri-Cities. That's right.
Isn't that fantastic?
Yeah. He was my neighbor. He was my neighbor probably when I was a kid. So
what's the one thing we know about Larry Coryell? His name's not Larry Coryell.
Yeah, it's some.
Lorenz Albert van der Linden III. Come on, Linda the Third. Look at that. Come on.
Yeah. It was. Yeah, I remembered it was some real long something or other. But so I started finding a lot of that stuff sort of fascinating, and I not that I play other instruments, but I was also listening to some Zappa, and at one point, and I can never remember his name, Jean-Luc. He was a violinist.
Ponty.
Jean-Luc Ponty. Thank you. Yes. Who had played with Zappa, and then he went on to play with Mahavishnu. And then on his own, and so and I still have all his stuff when he went on his own. So So that was kind of my journey over a period of a few years of kind of wanting to learn finger picking, and in terms of guitar playing, I wasn't playing along with John McLaughlin or anybody, but I was trying to learn some rhythm stuff, and I was certainly playing. I pretty much on Grover Washington's couple of his albums, I learned every bass part, and I learned most of the guitar rhythm parts, the chord work. And Eric Gale was just a very subtle guitar player, and he was actually easy to pick up, kind of work with his leads because they were a little easier to work with. So.
Did you see these guys live at all, Great Vanzini, when they were at their height?
No, I don't. No, I didn't. I later settled on the likes of Larry Carlton and Lee Ritenour, and I did see them.
Yeah.
And,
Lee Ritenour.
Yeah, and they're still up there on the top of my list, even though they're maybe, I don't know what you'd call it, maybe almost not quite smooth jazz, but kind of.
It is pretty. It is pretty smooth, isn't it? That
some of it.
Certainly, Lee Ritenour is very kind of melodic and sort of I got some Lee Ritenour somewhere.
So I find that, I mean, to me, that's a real interesting part of my development, and I think probably a lot of people, it's not so uncommon. But I grew up playing that minor pentatonic stuff, and on the bass it was roots and fifths, octaves, and dominant sevenths, and boom, 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 kind of stuff, and. It wasn't until probably when I was 30, I said, oh, I better look into this whole major scale thing and figure out what that was. And over time, I actually have been drawn to more melodic kind of music. So that's kind of my story anyway. So, I haven't bought any new stuff for, well, I guess maybe a few years ago I did. I think Lee Ritenour and Larry actually did an album together, probably. Maybe I want to say 6 or 7 years ago, and that was probably about the last. Then I just went nuts and got into. Once I bought a Telecaster, I found the likes of Danny Gatton, and not that I play like any of these people, but Danny Gatton and Roy Buchanan, and in my house, country music just wasn't allowed. My dad was a real jazz guy, and I never heard country ever until our neighbors, when we moved. I was probably in sixth grade, maybe. No, I was only in third or fourth, maybe. I don't know, but we moved, and the people across the street were from Oklahoma, and I got to become good friends with their oldest son, and every week they would watch this show called Hee Haw. With the likes of Buck Owens and who had Don Rich playing guitar, and Roy Clark, and Roy Clark I did see. I saw him twice in one day. He was so good. So and I'm not a country player. I always joke. I say I know a friend of mine had a studio, and he said, somebody would come in with some music, and he said, I think we need country looks. And I said, I know 5.
Well done.
I can get through a song, But
there's 5 videos, Great Vanzini.
Yeah, that's right.
If 5 great country licks you can learn from me. Yes.
Or said you do lick 1, 3, and 5, and on the next song you do 5, 3, and 1. So
just to say that the Larry Carlton and Lee Ritenour album was bought out in 1995.
Oh, in 95.
Yes, 20 minutes ago.
Oh, for some reason
Well,
wow.
it's called Larry and Lee kind of thing.
Yeah,
But
Larry and
yeah,
Lee.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Well, there you go. See, I
Yeah.
thought I was
April
getting
the
I probably
25th.
7 or 8
Oh,
years ago. That's
well,
when I got it. So,
it's actually April the 25th, so we're 10 days away from its 20th
ah,
25th anniversary.
here we go. Yeah,
A great
The other thing
Vanzini, I'd like to ask you a question. So
you
I'm
bet.
in the process now of doing a bit of study about the connection between Paul Butterfield and the British blues connection. And I'm just reading where in East, when East and West was produced or being recorded or being inspired, apparently there's a jazz element or there's some kind of jazz theory or philosophy inspiring that album. Is that something that you knew of at the time when that album
Oh
was
yeah,
happening?
I knew
Okay,
of East. I was big on East West when it first came out, and that would have been I don't know what year it was, but I think probably my junior or senior year in high school maybe is when I
67, I
probably
think, or yeah, 67 or 68 that album came out.
yeah, so maybe even my sophomore or junior year. Yeah, somewhere
So,
in
so
there.
you guys knew that it was there was some jazz aspects to that album.
Oh, absolutely,
Okay,
absolutely, yes. Oh,
wow.
especially that song, East West.
Mm.
Not only was it sort of psychedelic, which is what we were into, but it was something different. I mean, it was very clearly had some jazz elements in it, and I think I don't know if it was on that album or the first album, but the Work song had some definite blues
Hmm.
jazz kind of elements going for it that were really good. So yeah,
I think what's interesting for us all being guitar players, and I've done a little bit of research into this show because I, I've always been interested in jazz myself. And I don't know why. You know, I can tell you why I like rock and roll. I can tell you why I like the blues, but I don't know why I like jazz until I found this quote here where a guy is saying when they explored the possibility of abandoning the conventional cycle of chords on which popular songs, the customary vehicle for jazz improvisation, are built, putting in their place a set of slowly moving or even static harmonic guidelines that eradicated the old parameters in favor of creating space for thought and action. The harmonic layer, blah, 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 uh, like many other like many others in their different ways, uses this as their foundation. So for a guitar player, when I read that, I could understand what jazz was about then. It's about creating space for
yeah.
you in the song or in the tune or in the thing that you're doing. And is that something that you as a jazz player understood instinctively? Is that why you went to jazz, you
Um,
think?
no, I don't think instinctively. I'm not that good.
Okay. Okay.
I think I remember, and I might have been Miles himself that said, it's not always about what you play. It's what sometimes about what you don't play.
Okay.
And where there's rooms in there and experimental. And when I started out playing guitar, it was all about playing a kind of yeah, guitar hack. I think you're right because I've been looking at it for
Wow.
years, and I still don't. I still don't fully get it. So
Wow.
um,
I mean, I
um,
kind of blue is based on that,
oh
from what
yeah,
you've just read out, isn't it? I mean, what
yeah,
happened to? I mean, if you think about a kind of blue, it is that. It's about
yes,
thought and space, and
and in some
the
ways,
distillation of things into a few notes, not into thousands of notes.
yeah, and in my book, in some ways, it's kind of that almost that next step. From if you're a straight blues player, that's kind of what some of that is what you want to kind of listen to. You know.
Yeah, yeah,
So, and speaking of Miles, I guess Bitches Brew was probably
yeah. Of course.
that actually
Yeah.
came out I think before we really knew Fusion was Fusion, but
And who was the
Sure.
guitar player on Bitches Brew?
McLaughlin.
it was McLaughlin, wasn't it?
And where does
Yes.
Was
John
it?
McLaughlin come from? Hey, this is interesting. Where does John McLaughlin come from? He comes
He's
from a
an Englishman.
northern town called Doncaster.
Yeah.
If you ever
What
been to Doncaster, you'd think, how
Doncaster?
does a Doncaster is a northern industrial town, Great
Oh.
Vanzini, north of England. Yeah, in Yorkshire. And, you think, how does a jazz... I mean, my initial is, how does a jazz musician of John McLaughlin come out of Doncaster? It's still a thing. But Andrew, just to fill in a few gaps, he played with Alexis Corner. He played with Georgie Fame and the Blue Flames. He played with the Graham Bond organisation.
Wow.
And Brian Auger, he gave lessons to Jimmy Page. In 63...
Oh, is that right?
The Graham Bond organisation, as Andrew will tell you, had Jack Bruce and Ginger Baker in it, and John McLaughlin. And that's 3 great British jazz musicians.
Yeah, with heavy jazz backgrounds. Yeah,
and they played an eclectic. Yes. But isn't that funny? They're sort of a lad from Doncaster making it big on jazz rock.
Well, there you go. I think Jack Bruce played with Zappa on I don't know, on one album or on at least some songs or something. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so for me, from a music theory point, is that songs are typically made up of notes from a major scale, or if it's a bluesy something, it's a minor pentatonic scale. And with jazz, it's a combination of those two. But also, a friend of mine really was probably gave me the best advice. He said, look, we're looking at little arpeggios and follow the chords. Where the chords are is where you might find the notes, and just kind of, but they have to be the right notes, of course. But when you start the turnaround, go silent. I remember that.
That's right. So he was on Apostrophe, Frank Zappa's Apostrophe album.
Oh, okay. Okay, I just remember hearing that and thinking, what an interesting. Of course, Zappa. I think everybody played with Zappa at some point.
A lot of people.
All of us may have.
Wanted to, and apparently he was very particular about who he was going or who he wanted to work with. So, yeah, you just couldn't turn up and say I'm going to jam with you.
Yeah. He was interesting. I guess he's probably. I don't know. When I listen to some of his stuff and go back, I really think that when we talk about who's the grandfather of fusion, it's probably Zappa way ahead of everybody else.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, even his early stuff in the '60s was pretty different. Yeah.
What, we're only in it for the money and things like that.
A guitar hack. Yeah, Larry Carlton. To me, he's just
Al Di Meola. That's right.
He's one of my. Al Di Meola. There is another. The guy is great. I think technically he's great. It's a love-hate. I always say I don't like the guy. I don't like it's that busy, buzzy kind of playing sometimes. And then the next thing I hear, I think, wow, who's that? And it's Al Di Meola. It's
great Vanzini. You know how rock and roll guitarists or blues guitarists can get a little bit cranky when it comes to gear. They're very particular about what type of amp they use and what kind of guitar. We can associate Les Pauls or Strats or Telecasters with various artists. Are jazz players just as fussy, do you think? As a rock and roll or a blues man?
Yeah, I think they're very particular. I mean, Larry Carlton's Mr. 335 is his nickname. So although I saw he just came out with a very inexpensive line of his own guitars here recently. So at the NAMM 2020. But he's always played a 335, and when you look back, I'm not sure about the fusion guys like McLaughlin, and I'm sure they had preferred guitars. I can't imagine they didn't. But when you go back to the guys I listen to now, which are Wes Montgomery and Joe Pass and all those guys were very particular about what guitars they played and what they liked. On Joe Pass, and that's one of the Joe Pass never played an Epiphone ever. He almost always.
When I think of jazz guitarists, I've always got this image of George Benson with a big jazz box, an Ibanez, or a Gibson.
The George Benson Ibanez, yeah, what a great guitar. Yeah.
And that
and
George
not cheap.
Benson Fender, didn't it?
Not cheap at all, and many of them are laminates.
They are. Those are the Larry Carlton guitars. £500.
Yeah. Even a Les Paul type. Wow.
Yeah,
that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, like Strat. Well, they got all three, hasn't he? Got a 335.
He's got all the bases covered, Simon.
All the bases covered. Yeah, well done, Larry.
Clip the ticket, Larry.
Cover all the bases, boys. We'll be fine. Yes.
Yep.
Retirement plan in place.
Building his retirement fund. That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Yeah.
But £500. I mean, they're £466.
That's not cheap. That's $1,500. That's
But in guitar, Andrew, £400 in a guitar term, £450. That's pretty cheap for a guitar here.
That would be
probably.
Yeah. That would be about.
Yeah, £450 wouldn't buy you a low end Epiphone. Low end, probably.
Oh. So that would be probably around $600 something.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah. No, so definitely. In fact, somebody I know is getting one. I think, Pat.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, a guy I went on my guitar breaks holiday with, Pat Dion. I think he's getting one.
They're made by a company called Sire, which I know nothing about, but I did read a review that said, well, if they're going to be like their basses, they're going to be really good at that price range. So apparently they've been making basses and they're quite good.
Isn't it interesting how when you look at guitar prices or guitar gear globally, like that price, if I do a quick mental count in my head, is about 1,500 New Zealand dollars, which doesn't put that in an affordable category. That puts it in a mid-level, because you can buy a Mexican-made Stratocaster for not much more than that. The Chinese Squire custom vibes are about $900, so that won't be a cheap guitar.
Wow.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what happens. So £400, Simon. That's a pretty cheap guitar in the UK.
Oh, £400 is a cheap guitar in the UK. Yeah, it's $900, $936, Andrew.
Okay.
If we're counting, so it's about $2 to the pound. Yeah, so it's double.
Okay. Oh, £1,000.
A $900 guitar in New Zealand, that must be a fairly cheap guitar.
Yeah, it's not bad. That's not bad then. Yeah, that's not bad.
I mean, I think they'll be, £450 would be pretty well made and stuff, and things like that, plain.
Well, you'd like to think with his name that there'd be some kind of quality control, wouldn't you assume?
I would.
Yeah, and if what people are reporting on their bass guitars, which they've been making for a few years now, is apparently they're pretty good.
Yeah.
I would guess they're right in line with the Mexican made in Mexico Fenders. So
yeah, a bit cheaper as well. Made in Mexico Fenders are more like £700 or £800 rather than.
Yeah, I haven't looked. I haven't bought one for ages, so I've got I've got quite a few of them, but I haven't bought a new one for quite a while.
But let's just get a better photo of it. But they just seem to, it's a pretty. Better photo. See, that's a pretty cool guitar, isn't it? The HSS.
Yes. Yeah.
It looks pretty cool to me. It's got very good. It's got lots of good reviews on the. I'm just looking on the Anderton's website, but it's got lots of good reviews on there.
That's where I discovered it. Was Lee Anderton doing a review on it the other day?
Oh, okay. So, yeah. Roasted maple neck and all that.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, Hack saw him live. Did you, Hack? Yeah. Perfect execution and control.
With Larry Carlton, that was my experience too. I was just in awe.
Oh, really?
As to how he.
I'll have to check him out.
He just hit the floor
amazing,
and didn't let up until the end. And
is there an album that I need to listen to specifically, Hack and Great Vanzini? Can you give us a recommendation or a couple of tunes that are go-tos? that are his
Oh wow,
sunshine of
there's.
your loves?
I,
The sun.
I'm so terrible at names of albums. I just can.
Okay,
I
that's
want to say
okay.
miles and miles. The Larry and Lee one
Okay,
is really good.
okay.
So
I'll have a look. I'll store that in my Spotify now.
Oh,
yeah,
so he's playing and singing from 1973. I mean, God, he's made quite a lot of albums, hasn't he? So, I don't know. Sleepwalk.
that's a great version of. So Sleepwalk, I have a funny history. It's probably one of my all-time favorite songs. Just because I was a little kid at 6 years old when I first heard it, and or thereabouts, and there's so many different versions of it out there. So I've kind of over the years collected just about every version I can find by anybody who's and yeah. Oh, Mike Stern, and
Yeah, Mike Stern.
good
Yeah.
call, Arvin. I plead stupidity there. I heard that guy and always say, "Gee, I gotta." Yes, yeah, Larry and Lee and or Lee and yeah, Larry and Lee, yeah, and
Awesome.
and I can't remember the name. Oh, Alone, Not Alone is the name of the. Where did that come from? Wow, I actually remembered it. Oh,
So Mike
Not
Stern,
Alone.
Arvin's given us a recommendation of Mike Stern. Sorry for interrupting. Sorry.
No, that's where I was just going to go with
Oh,
about Mike
okay.
Stern. I
Yeah.
every time I hear him, I say, man, I got to get some of that guy's stuff, and I keep not doing it, so I need to do that. Everything I've seen of him on YouTube is always enlightening. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was a whole kind of, that 70s thing, particularly. It was a whole kind of almost a separate line, wasn't there, going through those jazz guys in the 70s. I saw a few of
Well,
them in the
Yeah.
70s. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
this guy Mike
that kind
Stern's
of jazz fusion thing.
got a shitload of albums.
Yeah, and we had
Yeah.
where I lived, we didn't have a very good jazz scene, but we had up a few miles north of me in Portland, bigger city. There was a lot of jazz happening down there, or up there. So, and Seattle's always been.
So what's a jazz scene in America? When I think of jazz, I think of that movie that Clint Eastwood came out, Bird, and he's reproducing a couple of jazz clubs in New York City where people are just sitting there and watching these jazz musicians.
Yeah,
That's what's happening?
Live at the Iridium. Well, Portland had some clubs that would have reminded you very much of where Les Paul played at the Iridium in New York.
Oh, wow.
They had 2 or 3 clubs, and you could go and hear some pretty big names off and on, and other times it was local guys. But they had some pretty big names that actually had moved to Portland over the years. So, there were some good players up there.
Yeah. Great Vanzini, Kubrick Lover wants to know: are you on any albums? Have you played?
No.
Have you recorded?
No, I have, but it's all been very local. It's been very local. I was saying that a couple of my friends had small studios and would have people in, and it would be usually singer-songwriters, and we would always try to convince them, like saying, well, I think you really need more than just you and your guitar. And, we had access to a piano. We have electric guitars. We have basses. We can put in bass lines, and so I would once in a while get called to come in and do either some rhythm work or some lead work, bass work, whatever.
Wow.
So
nice. Yeah.
and the only thrill is we have a local radio station that, and I didn't know it, but they had a once a week show that was local talent, and I can't pick it up where I live, but going kind of from where I live on into Salem gets close. It's in a little tiny town east of Salem, and a very low wattage station. And I pick it up, and so I said, "Oh, that's that station. I got to tune that in." I tuned it in, and I said, "Oh, that's not a bad song. It's man, what is that? It's really familiar." you know, and then I realized,
It
oh,
was you.
that's me, you know. And I actually had a little. It was not a bad song, but you know, if I were doing that lead, I'd do it a little better, you know. So, you know, you never know. So,
Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. Wait a minute. That's
yeah.
me.
So no, I never did the big time. I had a career. My career was in healthcare, and for about 45 years. So
But you're glad to be out of that. Yes.
I got out. I retired last October. So yeah, the nick of time. Yeah.
You haven't been called back then. Great Virginia.
No, they don't. I
Do they
probably
not
wouldn't
do
go.
that? No, no. I don't
I
blame you.
just think. Well, from what well, anyway, I don't want to get into how they're handling or should be handling or anything, but I think there's still a pretty, where I'm at is a pretty high risk area. There's been quite a few cases, even though we're a small area. And the town south of me is a small well, it's 50,000 people, but it's mostly
Plenty.
agricultural. Yeah, and the town where I'm from in Salem is, I don't know how many they're at, 150,000 and
Yeah.
300,000 if you take in the surrounding area. So,
Are you self-isolating?
yeah, we sure are. Yeah.
Okay.
There's just nowhere to go. I mean, the restaurants have takeout, and I'm still not that brave. So,
No, don't. No, don't.
yeah,
You know, I suppose if you're brave enough to venture to go and get takeout, that's an interesting experience. But here in New Zealand, you can't even get takeout. Everything is closed. So,
really? Wow.
yeah, everything. So, guess what I'm going to do for a week when the lockdown is
Fish and chips for a week. Yes.
is lifted. I'm going to be getting fatter for. But anyway,
I said it's odd that the things you miss. You know, the two things I want is to go have a nice meal in a sit-down restaurant.
Yep.
And to go get a haircut.
Yep.
That's pretty simple. So
You need a low maintenance haircut like mine, Great Mountain.
yeah. Mine doesn't
Get off. Mine goes a bit wild, then it has to go.
Oh yeah, yours is a bit curly on the back there, Great Vanzini.
It sure is. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going
to. Styling is needed.
And so I was going to get a haircut on the 16th of March, and I said, I wonder if I should just wait for this virus thing, maybe give it another week or two. And on the 17th, on St. Patrick's Day,
well done. You gave another week.
They closed. Yes. Well, the next day they closed everything down. So that was that. So
yeah.
I'll survive.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? What I was watching something yesterday where some people they started off. They were doing this test of an electric car, Tesla, and they started off the day before the lockdown. So they went off somewhere, and then overnight it was like a lockdown. So like, we have to go home.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were somewhere else, and the next one was like, right, only essential journeys. Everyone go home, behave yourselves, and it's like really funny. It was like, oh God, we better go home then. And in the film, it's like, oh, we've just been informed that only essential journeys, so we're going home.
Yeah. It's one of my. There's a wonderful little Hungarian restaurant south of me that had a fire and was closed for the better part of a year, and they opened up like a week and a half before the close down. And so I'm waiting till this all gets. I got to go have their food. So yeah.
Good.
Yeah, I'm sure we all have that story. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really lucky that I'm able to work. I work for the government. I work for the British government, so I'm a civil servant. So we carry on working. It's normal. So then I work from home.
But what you can do, you can do it at home, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I worked in a clinic, so I
you have to go in.
You had to see. They're still open, and they're seeing people at the clinic, and people in the mental health realm. If people don't come into the clinic, you got to go do a home visit. So it's just a huge amount of risk there.
Yeah.
So
dangerous. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Hats off to everyone who's doing that.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, I'm brave. Some brave
It's
folks.
you see one of the saviors of our British Prime Minister was a New Zealand nurse.
Yeah.
You see that? A New Zealand nurse and a Portuguese nurse. There you are.
Ah. Yeah,
Just
I
proving.
I,
Yeah.
I do
Yeah.
worry about everybody I work with, so or that I did work with. So.
Yeah. You know, we've been lucky at work so far. I don't think one or two people possibly had it, but not really. We haven't really had a sort of, we've got plans in place. We've got kind of, to do if people, if it does start to become a bit, people do go down. We've got backup for all the. I run a team of project managers, so we've got backups for all the people who've, like they've got buddies, so that if one of them's ill, the other one could take over their projects and
Oh, very good, very good.
continue to run them. And it's a bit morbid, but I think it's really interesting. I work for an organisation called the Environment Agency, Environmental Protection Agency, and I went on a call with the CEO of the Environment Agency. He's called Sir James Bevan, and the first question asked by one of his members of his management team was, "How are we going to deal with what, as an organisation, what do we need to do when quite a lot of our people never return to work?" Now that's a heavy question to ask.
Wow.
In this is this has got a couple of thousand people on it. Now that's the first question out of the box is, what are we going to do? And you think, well, I mean, it's a really heavy question, but hats off to them for actually fronting up in that kind of call, and and they had lots of things in place to to deal with it. But I tell you what, hats off to them for
plan for that. Yeah.
Well, you have to have kind of counselling services and things in place, and everyone's got, So but I was, I was really impressed actually that not only that somebody asked a question, but they were like, "Yep, absolutely," It's really got, it's really,
Well, on a positive note, I suppose one of the great things about the lockdown is that we've been inundated with a lot of artists that we probably admire or like that are going live stream, doing live streams. Roger Waters, Sammy Hagar, Steve Vai.
I didn't know that. Oh, very cool.
Even Mike Campbell did a live stream. He's doing about 3 or 4 live streams, and the last one that he's doing, he's lighting a pipe and he's doing a little bit of recreational
a pipe,
recreational smoking.
Well, but next week, do you see next week? Next Wednesday, I think it's Bruce Springsteen's doing a live thing, isn't he?
Well, aren't we lucky? Aren't we lucky?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I gotta look that up. Wow.
Yeah.
John Fogerty. Yeah, that's right. Arvin's right.
Did you see the John Fogerty with his kids?
Yes.
That was really good. Yeah, I like. Yes. Yeah. Passing on the Tuglin to his kids. Yeah.
Oh, I would have liked to have seen that. Yeah.
It's on YouTube. Great Vanzini. It's if you look up John Fogerty and family doing what are they doing? Tell me what they're doing. Green River, one of the original Creedence numbers. By the way, could I say, still in the original key? Well done, John Fogerty.
He can still hit the notes. Yeah.
Still singing the original key. Well done.
Very cool.
But like Sammy Hagar. Sammy Hagar's in his 75 and still singing the same keys, Simon. These guys are, what? They've looked after their voice, haven't they? They've realised that their voices are the key to what they have achieved, and probably know how many gigs they can do a week or a year.
Look at that. We've got metal rocker. Good morning, and Johnny Bean. Hi, Johnny. How you doing? Johnny. Yes, thanks for joining, guys. So,
Johnny Bean too. Cool.
Yeah. I got a yesterday. I got a as you all know, I got a Bruce Springsteen live in Stockholm album, vinyl record, white vinyl record. It is, yeah, because in Europe there's a funny law, Great Anthony, that says that if something has been on the radio, if it's been a radio broadcast, then in Europe it legitimately can be released. which is very odd. I don't understand that at all. I've got quite a lot of so. Obviously this was on the radio in Stockholm, and I can remember it being on the radio here. In fact, I taped it on the radio here. I've got a cassette tape it somewhere. But yeah, it's it's a really good
You're
quality.
right, Simon. I've got Van Halen's Live Without a Net on CD that I got from Germany. And the reason why, and it's an official release, from a German, recording company. But the reason why they can do that is because Live Without a Net was broadcast on a radio station in Europe a couple of years
Italy
after.
Yeah.
So, but you can't do that in America. You can't if you made a copy of Live Without a Net and sold it. You'd be in trouble.
They'd be after you. My learned friends would be after you. But yeah, for some reason, it's very strange. I bought it from Amazon. It was on Amazon.
Wow. And is it a new? It was a new album?
Yeah, I'll go get it. Hold on.
Okay.
Enjoyed your show today, Johnny. I went for a long time. It was good to see Mancuda there on form as usual, and interesting that you've got your membership system running up on your channel. That'll be cool. Be good to see how that works out. I'm on the Frankenstrat level, so cool. So who else has inspired you from a jazz fusion perspective, Great Vanzini?
Well, I think I at some point I kind of moved away from that, but I mean I was really doing. I went back to watching a lot of the old jazz guys, Howard Roberts and Joe Pass and Herb Ellis and people like that. Wow. Yeah, I don't think I've ever. Really cool. I don't know if that's sold here in the U.S. or not. It's not one I've seen.
No, it won't be, because, as I say, I remember listening to it as on BBC Radio when it was done that night. It was done, which is why I remember it as a.
Wow. Cool.
Yes, I was 30 in 5 days' time. But
it's a double good memory. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's but yeah, it turned up in my feed on Amazon, and look at that, white vinyl.
Oh, I'll be darned! Wow.
Look, picture done. I mean, it's proper release, and it's fantastically good quality as well. Look at that. That's cool.
Tiny tidbit of my family history is my dad, after the war, returned and lived in the L.A. area and worked for RCA Records, and part of his job was to make sure. Apparently, they had to press those red records. Do you remember? I don't remember. There were red records that were kind of translucent.
Yeah.
And so he worked on that line, and he was kind of a quality control guy.
Oh, right.
The quality control on those was apparently different than on the black ones. There was a slightly different consistency in the actual vinyl. So he did that for a while. So
yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
I'd forgotten. I mean, now
until you showed me that. Now I think loads of people do different coloured vinyl, so $2 a penny. Yeah. But back in the day, they weren't very common, were they? You had to pay extra for coloured vinyl.
Yeah, they would just
the Beatles set that came out, the red and blue, was the first coloured vinyl set I'd seen.
Was it? Well, the ones I've got. You've seen them, haven't you? I've shown them, haven't I?
Those were re-releases?
No, I think they originally came out like that, didn't they, Simon?
Well, they would have come out. I don't know when exactly they came out, but I'll have a look. But
I don't recall ever seeing those.
In the late 70s, anyway, they released the Beatles red and blue. But I remember a friend of mine. His father had the red and blue one, and it was like, oh, wow. Couldn't touch it. We couldn't play it. We could just look at it.
Wow.
Well, don't stand so close.
I just on eBay, you can buy it for £90.
Wow.
I better look through. My oldest brother passed away many years ago, and unbeknownst to us, he still had all my records, all his records, and all my middle brother's records.
Wow!
And I've still not gotten through them, but I have six large.
We're back.
6 large boxes of LPs to go through.
Hang on, I'll go and get them.
Gone through a couple of them. But I know that I have almost the entire Beatles collection in there, so
Wow.
I need to go through and take a peek and see what all's in there. So
Yeah, you'd be surprised what you might find in the collection.
yeah,
Now, the Beatles collection that you would have there would be the American releases, or
yes,
okay,
yeah.
okay, because we all know that the first 3 or 4 of the Beatles releases were different from the English releases, weren't they?
Yeah, there was one, and I can't speak intelligently to the. Okay, yes,
So
those.
these 2, great ones, yeah. So
yeah,
so 62 to 66 and 67 to 70.
Okay.
And
I'm pretty sure I have those. Yeah.
Drum roll, please. Look.
But I don't remember this.
Look at that on blue vinyl.
On Apple. Yeah.
Another one's on red.
Oh, I got a job to do then. I gotta go through those boxes and see what I got. So.
Oh, have you got boxes of vinyl records?
Yeah.
You should do a live stream. Do a live stream, Great Van Zanny, of going
that
through
might be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know.
I've gone through a couple of them and do it tonight. Yeah. put the coffee pot on and go for it. Yeah.
Did you read one, Simon?
Huh?
You got the red one there?
I got the red one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. 62 to 66.
You know, we may have had that, and I've just forgotten it. I think they were colored. I
now, when was that released, Simon? 77 or 78?
I'm just trying to have a look. To be honest, I would have got these in the record shop on 82 to 80. 84.
Arvin's got those too, but he's got them on black vinyl, which is what I had.
Yeah, it's possible that they did release everything in the States sometimes differently, and then
I can't tell whether
other places got them. So
yeah, the first 3 or 4 albums of the Beatles were different. They were a different release. I think it wasn't until Revolver where everything that was released in the UK was the same as the North American market.
No, I don't think so. No, I've just had a quick look on eBay. The red ones go for £90.
Yeah,
there's my retirement fund.
There you go.
Oh my gosh!
Somehow, I think not.
Yeah, I should have been buying every one of those I ever came across at a garage sale. Huh?
Yeah, I think Gussie's right. I think about 78, 79 is when they were released, Simon.
Right. Okay. In black and blue, in black and white, in black vinyl, they were released in 73.
Oh, okay.
Red,
so it is
red
earlier.
and blue, they were 78.
Yeah.
No, red and blue was 78. So they're right.
Okay.
Gussie's right. It's
okay.
Yeah. So I would have got them in about 83 of second hand. They wouldn't have been new. Somebody would have sold them. I worked in a record shop for 3 years.
That was then kind of a re-release of the original one in black vinyl.
I don't know whether they. Yeah, I don't know whether they did. Yes, kind of. Or they would have done them again, but because I think in the late 70s, sort of coloured vinyl started to become a thing, didn't it? I mean, they're all like picture discs and stuff like that. They're all those. The Cars had picture discs, didn't they? And quite a lot of punk records had coloured discs and picture sleeves and all that kind of thing, which hadn't been done so much previously.
I wouldn't know. I was listening to jazz.
So I was black vinyl.
I was lost by that. Yeah.
Well, I was listening to jazz too, but I have broad.
I missed 20 years in there.
I got broad taste in music. That to me, the labels are labels, but I love Miles Davis, Larry Carlton, and Jimi Hendrix, and to me, it's all the blooming same. It's just music, and you pick out the things you like, and the things you like move you, and those are the things you really like, and the stuff that doesn't, you don't, and that could be anything,
Yeah. I
I,
really got, I really got
I,
into
I
the
always
jazz
thought that
stuff.
somebody that didn't like music, I always looked upon them with a little bit of suspicion. Sorry to interrupt you, great Van Zini, but yeah, you know, when I was younger, and even now,
That's good. Right ahead.
when I would say, you know, when I'd meet someone, you know, one of the first things you'd say when you were a young cat is, what music are you into, Simon? What do you like? You know, great Van Zini, what do you like? And then great Van Zini would say, oh, you know, I like Larry Carlton, and I'll say, oh, okay, and then no, I don't really dig him. I'm into Jimi Hendrix, but we'd still respect each other
Still a
because,
connection there. Yeah.
yeah,
Did you,
because you could, you know, you could tell me all about Larry Carlton, and I go, oh, okay, wow.
when I went to school, like I went to school in the 69 to 75. So in 1971 and 72, when I started getting to music, the thing to do in the UK was everybody had like haversacks, ex-army haversacks, yeah, sort of bobbly. And what you do is you would write the names of your bands on the flap of the back of your rucksack.
Yeah.
So, you know, you'd write Deep Purple or Led Zeppelin and stuff. And some people had very elaborate kind of painted things. And some people just wrote it in biro. But you could tell at a glance, you know, oh, look, that guy's got Led Zeppelin on his bag. He and I could probably be friends. Whereas, you know, if they had Slade on them, then it was, I mean, these days it's not the same. But, you know, and then it was like, no, maybe not.
No, we had the same thing
when
here.
You're 14.
I remember, doing the same thing here in New Zealand, and if you were really nerdy, you had a square cloth shoulder bag that your mum made or your girlfriend made that you could store your records in, and you'd carry your records around with you. You know.
But you see, we had different to that. We had. The thing to do was not to have a thing. The thing to do was to carry around a record shop bag with records in it.
Yeah.
So, you know, you would have a Revolver Records bag or something, you know. There's that's what, because then you could like, oh, what's it? You know, oh, he's got a record. What's in the record? You know, what's in the bag kind of thing, you know. And then you could pull out physical graffiti. Yeah, and they go, oh, look at
that. As an interesting aside, I remember this point when I was watching that Suburban Steps to Rockland, and they were interviewing one of the guys that was in Manfred Mann. No, Tom, the guy that was Tom McGuinness, and he said that he hopped in a bus, and when he was living in London, and drove to a house and knocked on the door, and the guy's mum answered the door, and he said, "Oh, someone here's got a Muddy Waters record." And she called out to the son, and the guy came out to the door and he said, I understand you've got a Muddy Waters record. And he goes, yeah. So he goes inside, grabs the record, gives it to him, and he stands there and he holds the record. And you know, and it was like, oh, okay, I've helped. And then he'd give the record back, and then he went home, and I'm going, wow. Well, man.
I mean, there are stories, aren't there, in the early, because that people would go around to other people's houses to look at the record, and then people would have the record and not have anything to play it on. They come around and go, can I hear it? Can I come around to your house and play it on your record player?
Simon, can I just touch it?
Yeah, so in that case, he didn't get to hear the Muddy Waters record. He got to hold it.
He just got to hold it. He got to hold it.
Wow. Yeah.
The holy grail.
So that kind of put into perspective for me a little bit about what those British guys thought about blues. You know, we all know the stories, don't we? You know, about Clapton and Keith Richards, and you know how they loved the blues, and Steve Winwood. But you know, when a guy tells you that I just wanted to hold the record, puts it into perspective, doesn't it?
Nobody ever said that about a CD, did they?
No.
No.
Can I just hold your phone, Simon?
Yeah. See, Holy Grail, not Holy Grail.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, let's putting it out there. You know, I feel that.
No argument from me.
I've loved these records. You know, like records. As I say, I bought that Bruce Springsteen record. You know, principally because it's a vinyl record.
Yeah,
you know, it's beautiful. You know, it's there's something about it that's just to me is is just something, as a kind of proper artifact of thing. Whereas, as you say, go around to somebody's house and hold the record. And do you remember poring over the covers and and you take out a CBS record or a BMI, and it would have pictures of other records on the inner sleeves.
That's right.
And you could look at them and you go, I wonder what these are like. Oh, and because they're advertising, obviously, but that fascinating thing about, I have no idea. The Allman Brothers, Life in the Fillmore. What's it?
And they weren't always from the same genre.
No, you'd have
you might buy an Allman Brothers record, and it would have an album about and also Peggy Lee,
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
somebody from way back,
My point exactly. Be going, who are all these people? What's that? What's that like?
Fascinating.
All sorts.
And if
of
you were
genres,
really lucky, the records contained the lyrics, so you had the Holy Grail. You had the words to the song. You could correct people that were singing the song incorrectly.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and what the great joy of going? Oh, it doesn't go like that.
Yeah.
Great misheard lyrics. Yes.
So how interesting! We all three have our record players up and running, huh? So
I've never sold mine. Great Manzini.
Well, I've sold and bought.
Sold hundreds of them.
But I have. Yeah, I'm back to it so much. I have one upstairs and one downstairs as well. But
that's right. Kubrick Glover makes a good point here that Dwayne Allman's favourite record was Miles Davis' Kind of Blue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yep.
I got this, Great Manzini. I bought these I worked in a record shop from 1982 to 1985.
Oh, okay.
And so these are the things I got in the record shop. I still have. I never sold them.
Instead of payment, you took records.
It was my no. I did get paid. I get paid.
Oh,
I
okay.
also had that was my Saturday bonus. Saturday bonus.
Oh, okay.
You could have we've had a good. We'd had a good day on Saturday. We used to sell. We sold a lot of second-hand records. We sold new and second-hand stuff. So people would bring, Yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was my best job. I think the job I liked the most.
Yeah, if it's something you're into, that's.
Well, it was lovely. I worked for a local Bristol musician, quite a sort of well-known, not only in Bristol, but he was called Tony Dodd. In fact, he spent some time at Boeing in Seattle in the 60s. He worked at Boeing in Seattle for a few years in the 60s and had a band out there. But he's still alive. He's very good. He is a very good rock and roll guitarist. Really good.
Okay.
He did that late 50s, early 60s stuff. And he had a series of, that's what he plays. That's what he played. So he had a very tight kind of three-piece band, really good band with a guy called Paul Huggett, who was the drums, and I think he played on some David Bowie stuff. I think he played on Hunky Dory a bit or something. Anyway, so they were really good.
So, and do you still see him?
I haven't seen him for a few years, but I am still friends with him. Yeah. I've seen him a few years ago. But
there's a wonderful website. There's a wonderful website that I was actually on earlier today. I can't tell you. It's called Pacific Northwest Bands. And it lists just about every band that ever existed from Canada, from BC to Washington, Idaho, and Oregon. And some of them are incomplete information, but he very well might be able to look his band up there. And
completely, yeah. But as I say, Tony was great, and we used to go and see him, and he would do things like Shaking All Over and For Your Love,
sure.
And, late 50s, early 60s stuff, things like that. And then, but
we did For Your Love,
yeah, and if we could harass him into it, he used to do a song called by a British guitarist called Albert Lee. Do you know who Albert Lee is?
10 years after Albert Lee?
No, that's Alvin Lee.
Alvin Lee,
his brother Albert Lee, who was in Heads, Hands and Feet, and was played a lot.
Oh, Albert Lee, the country guy.
Yeah.
I've been looking at an Albert Lee Music Band lately, so I know exactly who.
I've played one. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
That's
I
How
want
much
to
is
have
it?
that
It's not
hands-on
cheap.
experience with that. So
It's not cheap.
yeah,
No.
no, they're pretty spendy.
Anyway, so I was interrupting. Simon was telling a story.
Yes,
No,
Albert Lee.
Well, his signature song is a song called Country Boy.
Oh yes,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Tony used to play that fantastically, but
Wow.
he would only play. We used to have to harass him into it to do it. Go, play
not an easy
Country Boy.
song.
And he'd go, all right then, get like but he could really play it properly because Albert Lee was one of his heroes and stuff. And
Yeah. Oh heavens, yeah. Albert
fantastic.
Lee, he's one of the guys that made me interested. Said I never had country music in my house, but the neighbors did. And when I first heard Albert Lee, I was the first time I thought, well, wait a minute, what's going on here? So I'm still not always fond of country music, but country guitar players are always will always get my attention.
He played a Telecaster for a long, long time, and then he got a signature music band.
Yeah.
And he played on a couple of those 70s albums with Clapton.
Yes.
Supported Clapton on a couple of tours. Very good, phenomenal guitar player. Very clean.
And there's a book out on him, and I think Clapton wrote the foreword.
Oh, really?
If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Really? Fantastic. Yeah.
I'll have to check that out. Anything that Clapton's
really cool.
written, I want to read.
I don't know what it's called.
Yes, that's fantastic. Yeah. But a great player, Albert Lee, and lovely bloke.
I just saw an interview.
Nice bloke.
It might have been one of those premier guitar rigs where they kind of review everybody's gear,
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was that, or it was just a few weeks ago, but he was talking about he likes to use for an effects unit a Korg AX. I have an AX10, which is really old, and he said or something like that, and he liked to use an AX2 or something. And his wife buys them for him off of eBay used. And she's the one who's always on the search for him, and I forget the reason, because he loved the compressor that was in it or something like that. But I just found that fascinating, that for all the gear that we look at and crave, that what he's looking for is something that hasn't been made for 15 years, so or more,
Well, those kind of analogy type things from are worth lots of money now, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's
I
know I go bang on
ones. Some of those early ones do some things that are really good.
Yeah, well, they have a thing about them, don't they? That I've talked on here about that old 70s synthesizer, the VCS3, that my dad had, that is a weird, has no key, has pins and kind of you send the signals chain around various things. It's like, who invented that? Where do you get that? It's like, but it has a particular set of things that it does, that people like Pink Floyd, used on Dark Side of the Moon, or that stuff in VCS3. And you think, somebody invented that. Somebody thought, hey, this is cool, and yet none of the modern things do that either. They don't do that now. It's all kind of, all kind of, simulation of, of other instruments, isn't it? You buy a keyboard now, it's got, it can sound like a piano and an orchestra and blah, blah, blah. But the capacity to make your own sounds and your own things, that kind of, to encourage a creativity thing. Today's keyboards are about, encouraging you to do creative on the songs kind of thing, writing stuff, whereas those things were creative in what kind of weird, crazy sounds can I make?
That weren't orchestral at all.
Yeah, that's right. But my dad,
otherly world,
just a different noise. That's all they wanted.
Yeah,
they just wanted something that sounded different.
Yeah, completely. What my dad did, my dad was a composer, great lad singing, and what he did was he would go and record a load of orchestral stuff, so conventional instruments playing, and they would take it back to his studio and shove it through these VCS3s.
Wow.
And tape loops and all these things. I can remember having tape loops, literally with nails with little spools on them, when you pull the tape out and put them around for different lengths of
oh my gosh, how cool!
Yes, this is 1971, 72, and all of that. before digital nonsense, pencils and all that kind of gear, with the tape rack rider and things, and yeah, but he would take them back to his studio, and then he would manipulate the sounds electronically. So what you had originally as a as a conventional, I don't know, a violin or a flute or whatever, he would then manipulate that stuff through the VCS3s and create something different with it. So it's two stage, yeah. This is in the 70s, but yes, amazing kind of what my dad did, and kind of but brilliantly kind of Heath Robinson sort of, racks he made himself and these things. And he used to have a live group, a live electronics performance group, where he had sax players. There's a Bristol sax player called Andy Shepherd who did some stuff with my dad and various. But you would have a microphone, but live put the sax through these synthesizers and various other effects, so you can make kind of loops and echoes and all sorts of stuff. Yeah, crazy avant-garde stuff.
Sounds like great fun. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my dad was an interesting man, and did lots of interesting things. Once a week when I was about 19 or 20, once a week we would dismantle his studio, which was at the top of my mum and dad's house, which is a 5-story house, and we'd take it all down and we'd set it up in a local Bristol art centre called the Arnold Feeney. Of course, it's called the Arnold Feeney. And then he would get school kids. We'd have a day of school kids coming to the local schools to learn about, the stuff my dad did, electronic music and stuff. So they'd come for a couple of hours, and I used to help out when I was between.
Oh wow.
Other stuff, university things. Yeah, we used to do lots of amazing things.
I'm just terrible. I remember I bought a software program that came with all sorts of orchestration, but on the side it had all these different synthesizers, Prophets and everything, that you could bring in and play with. And it actually had the little visual representations of the chords to plug in. And of course, I had no idea what to do or how to make any of that work. So I thought, wow, that's really ingenious how they did that. But I had no clue what I was doing. So I was mostly interested in the background orchestration. So
well, yes, completely.
Amazing what they make nowadays for all that. So
see, who asked this? I think it was Arvin asked this. Hold on, let's go back. Who asked? Kubrick Lover. If I just sorry, but it's shameless self-promotion. If you this is on Spotify, so you don't need to pay for it. But my dad's Life on Earth. That's the first big David Attenborough series. 12
go back a bit, Simon. No, bring it closer. We can't.
No, you have to. Yeah, I know. Getting it to focus is a bit difficult.
Life on Earth.
Life on Earth.
So if you search Life on Earth, it'll come up on Spotify.
It'll come up on Spotify, and that's as I say, the Life on Earth was the first big David Attenborough series. Natural history series. He'd done quite a lot of them. It's in late 70s, and my dad did all the music for it, with using these techniques that he'd learned through the 70s.
Oh my gosh!
In terms of having a listen to what he did and the way that he did things, just the opening bit is the is the amazing bit. It's it is. Yes, I love his music. It's fantastic because it's him. Obviously, I spent my life living around it. You could. I can kind of tell. My daddy had a particular style and a particular. Anybody who can do that, is a. I know that. I'm not going to. The genius word is a bit strong, but to be a creative, interesting person like that, I think is it's a fantastic thing. And to make a living out of it, I take my hat off to him for because that's what he always wanted to do. Completely what he always wanted to do.
Yeah.
His vision was to be a musician.
To be able to do that.
Yeah. But and to be able to to have his own studio and to record and create music and do all those sorts of things. It's just fantastic. And
it's really I always say it's the people that are successful like your dad are always there's a split brain function. It's a technical a technical
Yeah.
know-how and then
Yeah,
a
yeah,
creative
yeah.
thing, and those two
Sure.
things have to both be there to
Yeah,
make
I have a
it work,
brilliant
you know.
example of that. Great Rosini. When my dad used to do session, obviously go to a session, where he had real players going to play, and they would
Uh-huh.
record them. So he would be sitting in the taxi on the way there, writing out the parts,
Oh
and
gosh.
he'll be going, "Oh my God, really? What on the way there?" He goes, "It's all done. It's all up here. The creative bit has been done." And all he has to do is write it down. The mechanical bit was
Yeah.
writing it down on bits of
Wow.
on manuscript paper. And kind of, and then turning up at the thing going, "There are your parts." And he turned up once, he wrote a part for a guitar, and he turned up at the session, and the guitarist said, "Edward, it's great. If I had fingers that were 2 feet long, I'd be able to play it." Because my dad didn't play the guitar. He didn't really have an idea that you could just do, I could be here and also here. So, I
Yeah.
ain't got a finger that long, Edward. It doesn't work
Whereas
like
with
that.
the
So you have to
piano,
kind of,
you can be,
yeah, well,
yeah.
with other instruments, you can, it's not, you're not, whereas a guitar, you have with a bloody long neck, you're kind of a bit confined about what you're
Yeah.
doing in any one position, not, I can play this and I can also play two, up here. No, that's not happening because it doesn't work like that. It's like,
Yeah.
it's funny. But so he had to kind of rewrite it, for real guitarist life. Not because he didn't play the guitar. So, and those kind of, he played the cello and he played the flute and he played the piano a bit. So but guitar was not his thing. So he didn't know that. It's quite funny. There's a couple of questions. Sadly, Kubrick lover, one, I have inherited none of his talent, much to my chagrin. Sadly, my family is a musical family. My mum did play the violin, and her mother and her mother's twin sister, they were quite well known. They were twins, and they played during the war. They did a lot of kind of entertaining the troops stuff, doing 2 piano recitals, and they both taught at the Guildhall School of Music, which is a famous music college in London. They taught piano there.
Oh,
My
gosh.
grandmother Geraldine taught. So, my dad liked all sorts of music. I mean, we had Beatles and all sorts of stuff in the house. What my dad's thing was, my dad would say to me when we played, he would come in sometimes and see us. When he played, he'd say, "Are you improvising that?" It's quite interesting. His thing was, if you're improvising, if you're kind of, then that's good. That's what you should be doing. It should be a creative, whatever you're doing, playing in a covers band in my case, you get a creative thing in there. Get something of yourself in there, not just slavishly copy it in a sense.
Yeah.
And his great enjoyment was,
Learn something new from it.
was with the kind of the improvisation bits, the bits that just came, not the bits you would kind of arranged and things.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
That's what I like about the jazz musicians, in particular, because that's what they stood on. To be a jazz musician of any caliber, even amateur jazz musicians. I've spoken to a couple of guys locally that play jazz, and they take that badge of honor of being an improviser very seriously. And I don't know if I can do that myself, because if I go to a jam with a couple of my friends, we're playing blues or we're playing a couple of songs. So the improvising that we're doing's not on that jazz level. It's within the chord, within the 12 bars, or within the structure of the song. So you might improvise by the scale that you might be doing one week from another might be a little bit different, but to go out there and just go on stage and play something completely different, just I think from my perspective kind of scares me. So that's why I have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah. Stepping off the cliff, isn't it? That great thing of, I don't know what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to do it.
Yeah.
I'm responsible. And, that thing about, I bang on about it, but it's true. But Ariel Posen, particularly that Canadian guitar player that I went on my guitar breaks holiday with, is astonishing for that. I think, he is, he could just, you see him and he's playing with his 3-piece, and he just, I've seen him in concert couple of times. And and he'll start something, and you can tell that it's like, I don't quite know, it's kind of out of focus, and then all of a sudden it kind of, there we go, and there we go, and we're in, and we're doing it, and then things start to happen, and he's not afraid to just, start anywhere here, and just see, and see, I've talked about it, see what happens, and he's bold enough. And I think most of it is being bold enough to, just go.
If you listen to Charlie Christian from back in the late 30s, early 40s, before he passed,
yeah.
When you listen to a lot of his stuff, he has these in writing, and it would be a pregnant pause, I guess, but it's where he's just playing along, and then there's just a slight hesitation, and you can almost feel him thinking, where do I go next? And within a split second, he says, I'm going here. And he takes it off, and it goes somewhere else completely. And,
or like taking a breath.
It's like taking a breath. Yes, it is.
Well,
it is, to me, one of the great joys of listening to Charlie Christian, I think, that he's... I think later players were technically more proficient and more, but he just really had some stuff going on that was just...
Those people who can just actually, be free enough to just go, just play, just to make, I've seen Ariel Posen up close to it, and you go, really? How does the brain work to do that? My brain doesn't work to do that, sadly.
And Benny Goodman was on Johnny Carson years later, and Johnny Carson asked him, he said, out of everybody you've played with, is there anybody? And he said, Charlie Christian. Wow. He could just take off and fly, and while I was good at doing that, he could just go places I never even thought of, And,
really?
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for that. We need to check Charlie Christian out too. I certainly have heard a couple of his songs, but appreciate it.
You'll get a kick out of this. I don't know if I can get that up close enough.
Yeah, look at that.
That's a 4 CD set in the shape of a Gibson amplifier.
Yeah, nice. I was going to say beautiful. Cover,
with a really good booklet that comes with it, and it's pretty much almost everything Charlie Christian ever recorded. And because there's not that,
there's not much, is there? No.
Yeah, I mean, there's no video of him at all, So, that's.
Okay. Well, I'm mindful of the fact, guys, that we've been on live for an hour and a half. So
just getting going.
I'm just mindful of the fact that we're not holding anybody up or anything like that.
No, sadly not. There's been nobody awake in my house for another 2 hours. I can tell you.
I don't know how many viewers you might have at this point, but
7.
It's never been, never been.
7.
Honestly,
I know.
Never been a statistic that I've been concerned about. I know there's a lot of guys, obviously that see YouTube for a business, and I respect these guys. And some of these guys I know, through social media, great Vanzini, and I wish them the best. But it's never ever been my desire to have 2,000 viewers. I'm just happy that you and I and Simon are here, and you're giving me some tips.
I think that's true for most of us, isn't it? That's a very high bar.
And this is no disrespect to the people in the chat watching us too, because we certainly appreciate their input. And I was watching a show earlier today, and I've got to make this quite clear because a couple of people got a bit upset in the chat. So if Simon and I or anybody that jumps on, or Great Vanzini, doesn't reply to anything or any comments in the chat, please understand that don't take offense to that or get upset by that, because there's no meaning, there's no undercurrent there. It's just that we're not always on the ball. I was just watching. I was just watching a show earlier where a couple of people just got a bit upset, and I won't go into details, but
because the host wasn't responding to them or something. Or,
Yeah.
But I find it very hard because I'm watching the StreamYard one.
Yep.
And for some reason, I'm very distracted from the from the chat on that, whereas when I watch YouTube, I'm glued to the chat.
Yeah, see, I have it like that.
That.
So I have the actual
you have it on
show
your phone.
running with the volume turned down with the live chat going.
Just show that again, Simon.
Sorry,
Okay.
I have my YouTube. Sorry, it's not brilliant, but but yeah, I've got the chat see underneath, and then obviously I can read it. And if I make the rookie error of turning it down,
But what that highlighted to me with a couple of people in the chat earlier on a show that I was watching, obviously people in the chat take their role seriously in supporting these shows. So, but I just wanted to make that clear. I thought, okay, because sometimes I'm sure Simon and I and whoever and Carl, we're going somewhere. We're going somewhere, and then Arvin's asked the question, what guitar did he play? And it's like, we didn't answer that question. So please don't get upset with us.
Can I just show this a minute? This is can you put me on the? Let's see if I can.
I can tell from here. It looks like the Beatles.
Wake up. Well,
even though
it's hold on a second. It's actually now this is.
Oh, it's not. No.
The guy leaning against the lamppost on this side. Yeah, this guy is that guy there. He's called Tony Dodd. He's my boss at the record shop.
Oh, wow.
This is his first band. They're called Mike Tobin and the Magnets. And this is from 1950. They were a local rock and roll band. They were the first rock and roll band ever to play at the Colston Hall, which is my local 2,000-seater municipal hall.
Did he play when he worked in Seattle?
Sorry,
he
Alvin.
did, yeah. He did,
yeah.
But
he might be on that Northwest Band site. Might be mention of him.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, he's
that's
amazing
cool.
Guy. Yeah. Did a cover of his American band. He did a cover of Mr. Soul by Buffalo Springfield.
Oh,
I remember.
Okay, yeah. It's my kind of age music.
We're constantly pissing Arvin off, guys. So
that's why he constantly comes back for more.
But I did see a comment by Arvin about Lenny Bro somewhere.
Lenny Bro, yeah.
And Lenny Bro was that way. Yeah, he was impressive on his.
Was he a 40s guitar player, Lenny Bro? That name doesn't mean anything to me.
No, mostly 60s. Arvin 60s? Might correct me here. Yeah, 60s, and I think he died pretty young too, as I recall. Maybe I don't remember what year. I want to say somewhere around 70ish, or it might have been later though. Sonia, Sleepwalk.
Sleepwalk.
C, A minor, F minor, G.
Lenny Bro.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then the bridge part is F minor. That's the vanilla chords, not you make them all sevenths, of course, but they're major sevenths.
Of course. Lenny Brio. He died in 1984. Canadian.
84.
84. He died August the 12th, 1984.
I would have guessed 75, even earlier, 75 or earlier.
He died.
Okay.
August the 12th, 41 to 84, so he's only 43. Well, died just after his birthday, Yes, in Maine. He's born in Auburn, in Maine. Yeah. So, I'll check him out because I don't. That's not a name I know at all.
Oh, that's right. That's right, Gussie. Yeah, that's right. He was Canadian. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I forgot that.
Yeah. That's
right. Yeah. He never got his. I actually never heard about him till well after the fact. I think. Well, maybe not. I might have, but I mean, the other guys that were so dominant, were the people I was listening to. So.
Taught Randy Bachman, so he must be pretty good then. I saw a documentary.
Is that right?
Yeah, I saw a documentary recently on Randy Bachman. It was really interesting.
Oh, I would like to see that.
This is my favourite bit. It's Great Vanzini. This ring any bells with you? Around 59, Bro left his parents' country band after his father slapped him in the face for incorporating jazz improvisation into his playing in the group.
Oh my!
Wow.
And there,
Wow.
the divisions are drawn. Yes, between jazz and country. Lovely, yeah, that's funny. Did he talk Larry Trout?
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. Did he teach Randy Bachman to play guitar? Did he? Is it one of?
Yeah, apparently, according to Gussie.
Okay. Yeah. Gussie will know.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah, I'll check him out. Yeah, amazing. Yeah, look, there's a picture of him with a kind of weird one pickup guitar, just a neck pickup guitar.
Okay, well, you've given us some homework, so we'll check Lenny Burrow out too as well. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Gussie. That's a good call. Check him out. So you got to.
I just heard. Well, gosh, it's just really been in the last 3 years. Emily Rimler was a guitar player who unfortunately died of I shouldn't say. I think she died of an overdose, but I don't know. Died very young. I know that. Yeah.
Emily Rimler.
Remler. Rimler, I think is her.
Oh, yeah, Rimler. There we are.
I may be off on that. So Lenny Bro was Randy Bachman's neighbor. Wow. Taught him. I never heard that one.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's see. There's something. No,
Whoops. Stepping on the cord here.
Let's have a look. I'm just getting. Can't possibly. Just getting a load of stuff about somebody who'd been some poor. Not getting anything. Is it Ramel? Great, Manzini.
REML.
REM. Remler.
Oh,
that's right.
Rimler.
Okay, yeah, I got it. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So here's the chords.
I think I'm off on that. I'm sorry. I think I forgot a chunk somewhere in the middle there.
Wow.
So Emmett, she died in 1990.
Yeah.
She was born in 57, so she'd be under.
And those are the vanilla chords. I got to see the guy who wrote the original, came up with the vanilla chord book, Ralph Patt. Just happened to live in Oregon, and we had a bar in Salem called Lefty's Pizzeria, and they had a jazz jam on Monday nights, and I would go down and watch this guy play, and I thought, I'm gonna steal some licks.
Awesome.
And I watched him. I went about 3 weeks, and I never got a single lick at all, and I could not for the life of me figure out what. I thought, this is the strangest. I'm in some other world. He finally, after a couple, 2-3 weeks, brought his glass of wine down and sat down to me, and I said, I've just been enjoying hearing you play. My gosh, you're good. I had no clue who he was. And I said, and I've been trying to steal a lick, and I can't do it. And I just can't get anything out of you at all. So, do you just visualize chords differently? He said, I tune in thirds. So he's the guy who came up with the idea of tuning. I think, I could be off on that. We'd have to look it up on the internet. Tuning in thirds, and he also wrote the Vanilla Book of Jazz. And so he was the one who really taught me. He said, when you're dealing in jazz, simplify the chords.
It's a bit like
don't make it an A minor seventh. Don't make it a flat 5. Just make it a minor or a major, and then decide what color, what little extra stuff you want to put in it. And the single most helpful piece of advice I probably have ever had. So
they are the major third tuning, Ralph Patt. There you are.
Yes, yeah.
Available at ralphpatt.com.
Yes,
fantastic.
He was a wonderful gentleman. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that jazz jam was bizarre because not only was he playing there, the sax player was playing, and I thought, my gosh, this guy's good. And I said, that guy had to really play a lot when he was younger. Must have been. He said, oh yeah, he played professionally. And I said, "Oh, really? Well, who did he play with?" And he said, "Oh, he took over for Paul Desmond when Desmond quit Brubeck's band. He was Dave Brubeck's sax player
Wow. Yeah.
after
Yeah.
Paul Desmond left. So they had these guys sprinkled in there that were all these, elderly
Yeah.
hot shots. And watch them.
God blimey.
So
So,
that was
yeah,
a real
Ralph Pat is amazing. He had an 8-string guitar, modified
Yeah, special
by
made
Saul
one.
Nolan,
Yeah.
pickups made by Bill Lawrence. Tunings. Yes, E. So 8-string guitars. Low E. 7th is A flat. C, E, A flat. C, E, A flat. If you're tuning a 6-string, you have E, A flat, C, E, A flat, C.
And he did play that a couple of times. Most of the time he played his 6-string, which was
Yeah,
special.
yeah.
It was like a Gibson ES 150 that had been rebuilt for him
I shall take a photograph of it.
to do something. So
Yeah, mate.
he was a really nice guy.
Yeah, just like that reminds me of do you know a guitar player called Tom Quayle?
Oh yes, here on I know him from here on YouTube. Yes.
Yeah. Well, he tunes in fourths, does he? Hang on, that's his 8-string guitar.
Oh gosh. Wow, that looks just like Ralph's guitar.
Well, it is Ralph's guitar.
Oh, that is Ralph's guitar.
Sorry,
okay.
Yeah,
I thought you were saying that was Tom Quayle's guitar.
No,
I don't remember. I remember Tom Quayle playing in Ibanez or something.
Sorry,
I thought maybe he's changed.
No, This is his 8-string, Ralph Pat's 8-string guitar. Yeah, amazing. Yeah. With just the one pickup in the neck.
Yes.
No bridge pickup, not I can tell. Amazing.
No, almost all of those old arch tops would have just one,
a neck pickup.
Either what they call the Charlie Christian pickup, which is a single coil, or they'd have maybe a P90 or something like that, and then humbuckers at some point. Kubrick.
Kubrick, yeah. Quite a lot of people
correct.
They do down tune their Ds, don't they, to E to D.
Yeah.
So you get that when you.
The drop D tuning.
Drop D tuning.
Yeah. But if you go Kubrick, if you become a folk guitarist, you'll find sometimes folk guitar players will also do a drop D to get a bassier tone. And,
yeah.
Jorma.
The bass lines. Jorma Kaukonen.
Yeah.
Is that how you pronounce it? Jorma Kaukonen? Is that right? Jorma?
That's how I've always pronounced it. I heard him say it as Jorma. So I know that's right. So,
yeah. I mean, that's the trouble. Is that I've told this story. That in the 70s when I came from, you'd see it written down, but nobody said. I don't remember anybody saying his name.
Nobody's pronouncing it.
How do you bloody pronounce it? Jorma. It's like.
Yeah.
And I've told this story on here before, but in the 60s, there's a journalist, a British journalist called David Hepworth. He was brought up in Yorkshire. Here, Job McLaughlin. But he said for about 6 months, him and his friends thought that Bob Dylan was called Bob Dylan because they never heard it said. They never heard it said, and so Dylan, what they thought was pronounced Dylan.
Yeah,
not Bob Dylan.
we probably had way more of those than we knew.
Yeah. Well, because you just didn't know, did you? The kind of
well. When I was in high school, his name was Django Reinhardt.
Yeah, Django. Yeah.
And it was only later that I heard somebody say, well, it's got a pronounced kind of a CZ Django kind of sound to it. So yeah.
Or this one, great Vanzini, Led Zeppelin. Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yeah.
That Led Zeppelin fellow, yes.
Yes, and none of us have decided which one's better, Pink or Floyd, right?
Yes.
Which one is Mr. Pink?
Which one is Pink, anyway? Oh, dear. Kubrick Lover wants you to repeat what he said. He was in the bathroom. I think it was about the folk tuning. Quite a lot of folk tuners.
On folk guitars, I don't have an acoustic up here, but in folk music, it's not uncommon that they would sometimes tune down that low E string to a D to give it a drone-ish kind of sound
But I mean,
for some songs.
in folk, alternative tunings are really the
Joni
thing.
Mitchell. Joni Mitchell.
Joni
Yeah.
Mitchell, yeah,
She's the guru of alternative tunings.
And of course we had Bert Jansch, John Remborn.
Oh yes,
David Graham, all those guys. Yeah, who did.
Now you know who I first heard, and don't start laughing until I explain myself. But Donovan.
Donovan, yeah.
His first two albums
Donovan.
were straight folk albums, and his
no laughing. No laughing matter here.
Great song. Yeah.
I'm sorry, what was that, Andrew?
No laughing matter here with Donovan.
Yeah, his first two albums were straight folk albums with terrific finger picking technique.
Yeah.
He was really great, and then he went on, whether you like it or not, the other stuff, Sunshine, Superman, and all that. So but
Seasons of the Witch was arranged by John Paul Jones.
Oh, is that right? I did not know that.
He played a good one of his.
There's a song we did every weekend, because we could make
Mark
it be
Bolan
nice.
as well. Mark Bolan was a little bit of a folk guy. He used to do a little bit of that acoustic stuff before he turned into
Tyrannosaurus Rex.
He was kind of the glamour rock guy.
He was the glamour rock, but before
that he was like
Rex.
He had a duo or something.
With Mickey
that's
Finn.
correct.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah.
So they're all folkies.
Bongos, and sitting around playing, acoustic guitars. Yeah.
Oh,
before he
there's
discovered Chuck Berry.
Nothing better than a good set of bongos. I went out years ago and bought a really expensive good set. I mean, we always had those cheap ones you bought down at the cheap store, you know.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I wonder what they're. And I played them, and I thought they're great, and they were like $169 or something. They're not probably the best. I'm sure pros even use more expensive ones than that. But anyway, I started banging on them, and I thought, my gosh, this is great fun. It's just great fun.
I always remember the bongos and Batman and the Batman TV series. I think Catwoman had some gangsters there, and they were jazzers, and they were playing the bongos, and they'd go, "Hey man," and the tick 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 tick, "Hey man."
Yeah.
I can't drum. I've tried playing the bongos, but yeah.
Well, I'm no good either. It's just the fun of banging them and beating them up.
Yeah. Kubrick Lover, supposedly, it's a bit probably dispute. John Paul Jones and Jimmy Page played on Hurdy Gurdy Man, along with Alan Holdsworth, possibly John Bonham and Clem Cattini.
My gosh, what a lineup!
Possibly not. I mean, I think it's a bit of a here and there, but I don't think John Bonham did. But there's a whole list of possibles in there.
And Arvin agrees with you, Vanzini. He can't beat bongos.
Yeah.
No, you're right. You can't beat them, Marvin. You have to tap them lightly with your fingers.
No, you can really beat them up and
you could. Yeah,
you can break your hands on them, but they're great fun. They take a licking and keep on ticking. So.
Oh, that's a great phrase. Keep on. Yeah, fantastic. Well done. Lovely. Yeah. So I mean, so did you, when in your folk phase, Great Mancini, what did you do? Did you do your own stuff, covers? What did you play when you did folky stuff?
I'm sorry, you cut out.
I did cut out.
There was a drop out.
I was going to ask
there.
what you played in your folk period.
We did a lot of Tom Rush.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you know who he is.
Canadian guy. Yeah.
Oh, was he? I didn't know that.
I think Tom Rush is Canadian. Yeah.
Just that sort of stuff that was kind of that early folk stuff.
What singer-songwriter stuff?
Yeah.
I know he's not. He's American. I lied. I thought he's
stuff that was popular at the time.
When we got back together, Hot Tuna had come out, so we jumped on that.
Awesome.
Hesitation Blues, fantastic.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I actually I did that on one of my videos on I did a semi tribute to John Prine, and I only could remember a couple of John Prine songs vaguely, but I did a little bit of my version of Hesitation Blues, and I thought, oh, that's it. I gotta copyright. I got a copyright strike on that, and I didn't. I got it on John Prine songs, but
Did you? Oh, I was going to say. So you played it properly then?
well, I played. Well, one I hummed the melody to, so I figured I would get it on
Oh,
that.
okay.
The other
Ah,
one, there was.
yeah.
They always say you get a copyright. It's not a strike, but a copyright
Claim.
claim.
Yeah.
And on the other one, and they always say it's due to the melody, because they can't, you can't claim the
Can't do
chord
chords.
progression. Well, the other one, there was no melody, period. So you know that they're claiming it on the chords. You know that they're not being truthful. So.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Yeah.
And Hack.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Hack was here earlier, but he did a Santana one where he really stayed away from playing the original lead on it, and he got a copyright claim.
He did, didn't he? Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw that last night. Yeah, we
Yeah.
were laughing about that earlier. Actually, yeah. He was so good, so close that he got a copyright strike for sounding like Santana.
Yeah. Yeah. And
All right, guys. It's been 2 hours, so
You've got to take the dog for a walk.
yeah, but
Feed your family.
yeah. I just think that if we keep the shows to pretty much the topic,
4 hours.
Yeah. It's
it did take my live stream the other morning, Easter morning, to it took 12 hours for YouTube to process it.
Wow. Really?
And, yeah, I don't know what was going on.
Well, it's just sheer weight of traffic.
Normally,
isn't
it's
it?
not that long. Yeah. It's
Well,
just
well,
I think.
you're more than welcome to jump on next week with us, Great Vanzini, if you want. You have an open invitation if you want to jump on. Simon and I are scheduled to do a show in the weekend with Sonia.
Okay, I want to see that. I want to watch that. Yeah.
Yeah. It'll
Friday.
be
We're
around
doing
the
Sonia on
same
Friday-
time that we
Friday or
normally do,
Saturday?
but it'll be Friday or Saturday. So,
No worries.
but it'll be the normal time. But it'll be nice to get Sonia on. But if you want to jump on next week and continue talking about your musical journey, I'm quite keen to have you back on anytime you want.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
No problem.
It's been really cool.
It's really good. It's been great fun.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me. It's been great fun.
Appreciate it because we've always said it before many times. It's about building a community, a small community, and sharing those musical journeys and some of the musical insights. Because when I first discovered rock and roll by an uncle, it was like, wow, so you get to a point in your life where you think you might know it all, and then you meet someone on YouTube and they say, actually, have you checked Charlie Christian out?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
No, I haven't.
Yeah.
He's well worth. He's well worth. I think. Well, if you're, I think it's well worth it anyway. Yeah, I fell in love with him instantly.
We'll check him out. Yeah. So I'll say goodnight to Kubrick Lover. Thank you very much, Kubrick Lover. Sonia, we'll see you on Friday or Saturday. Arvin, thanks for joining as ever. The stalwart comes so we can piss him off on a weekly basis. Gussie Wells, Gussie, nice to see you, mate. Hope you're good. And Hack, Risey Hack was in too earlier on.
Yes. Yeah.
Scrolling back through the, I think he's probably gone to sleep, slumped at his computer.
Yeah, he's East Coast time, so
And Johnny Bean, of course.
Yeah, he's 3 a.m. So.
Yeah, and Metal Rocker. Yeah, thanks, Metal Rocker, for joining, Johnny. And I think that's probably, hopefully I've got everybody. And the Great Vanzini. Ta-da!
Don't go
you so
away,
much.
Sonia.
I appreciate it.
So what day suits you, Sonia? Because when Simon and I go live, it's always on the same day. So today is Wednesday, isn't it, Simon?
It is. Yeah, all day, yes.
Yes. So today is Wednesday. So we can in 2 days' time we can do Friday if that suits you. So in 2 days from now, Sonia, I can send you a message, and if that suits you, you can jump on.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
And then we'll catch up with Great Vanzini next week.
Yeah.
How does that sound?
Yeah,
Sounds good.
Yes, it's when. Yes, yeah. Are we on the same day? Andrew and I have this trouble a lot.
Yeah.
What time? What day? And what time is it with you? You know.
So, Andrew, what time is it? You're 4 hours behind me, but on what day are you?
So today it's 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So you're 24 hours ahead, and then or no,
No, because
you're 12. You can't be more than 24.
What are you?
So,
You're 3 o'clock in the
oh,
morning.
you're
so
17 hours.
about
You're
17 hours
ahead
ahead.
of me.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah. Sonia says sounds good. So Friday morning.
Awesome.
Okay,
Awesome.
Sonia.
So yeah. So we'll only go for about an hour and a half, Sonia. So yeah, jump on, and Simon and I will look forward to it, and Great Vanzini's looking forward to it, and everyone else in the chat, and then we'll continue with you, Great Vanzini, next week. Don't run
Sounds
away.
good.
Yeah.
Sounds good. You bet. Okay, we'll talk to you
Great
later.
Vanzini, the 80s.
Okay. Bye-bye. The 80s. Oh, the lost years.
The lost years. I wasn't going to say it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
May
going to
well
end the
be.
show.
All right, guys.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Yeah. Take care.